Welcome, everybody, to the most extraordinary tasting of, I think, the past 12 months. I am very privileged to be introducing you today to the finest wines of the Mornington Peninsula, and with that, 8 of the most famous winemakers from this region as well. The organisation that has got into this event is quite staggering. This isn't just any old random Zoom gig. We're on big marker, and there's Hollywood sort of technology behind the scenes. I'm amazed with how efficient and how professional the Mornington posse has been, and also Wine Australia's team in the UK in putting this together. And the result of that is that we have, I just heard the numbers, 170 people tuning into this. So this is not only one of the largest fine wine tastings that's happened in the last 12 months, it's also the highest caliber attendees, because I've been privileged to see the guest list. And I just don't know what people are doing in the UK today for the next hour. The wine trade has shut down because everybody is on this particular broadcast. So thank you all for tuning in. Camilla kindly told me that we had someone from Sri Lanka, a load of people from Italy, some people from the States. So it's not just a UK gig today. It's a global celebration of the great wines of Mornington. All right, next up, we have 2 of the most charismatic people in Australia, let alone in the Mornington. Hello, mate. Lovely to see you. Will you tell us about your beautiful wine?
Yes, well, the only thing I'd add with the vintage is that it was really benign. So if you didn't make excellent wines, it was hard not to make really wonderful wines. It was a really generous vintage. This wine, we have 2, this is from the family vineyard, and we have 2 Pinot vineyards. One's the original plant at MV6, which as in terms of aromatics gives wonderful perfume and earthiness to the wine. And the second vineyard, and that was planted in 97, and to 2,500 vines per hectare. In 2013, I planted a high density vineyard with 10,000 vines to the hectare. So this is 80% is MV6 and 20% is the Abel or Gumboot clone. And one of the things that Australia was criticised over the years was the Pinots with the problems, with possible problems, which I don't believe are there with middle palate. But certainly there's a complexity of that Abel vineyard that really complements the MV6. And you finish up with wonderful aromas and really earthy tones, verging on even meaty and meaty elements to it, and wonderful spice. And already you're starting to get in that wine. Those the tannins are starting to form those long chains. They're really silky and fine, but graphite-y, grippy tannins in there. So that's, I think, also gives the wine its character, and it's the vineyard that produces it. The other thing, that there's a real purity to the 18s, which you see there, and a very, very fine and complementary, mouth-watering, refreshing acid that really balances that wine out.
Yeah, I think you're right about the acid and the finish. I think if you could look at the wine backwards on the palate, the entry would be shocking and kind of like would snap your palate to attention, and then it would be mellow and smooth all the way to the initial fruit flavor. So when you turn it back around and you experience it in real time, it's so dramatic. And the wines are so pretty and beautiful, but they're so stern and upright and so correct. And I just don't think those characters.
Yes, they're still showing that vibrancy of youth, aren't they? Yeah. But I think these are wines that are going to develop beautifully with time. And there'll be further integration of acid and fruit. The other thing that we introduced back in 2016 is the use of concrete fermenters, and that was really from my trips to Burgundy and seeing what was happening. So there's lovely fruit there. There's wonderful fruit, but what the concrete does is that you don't get the sweetness.
Yes.
So you really focus on the savoury side of the wine, but all the fruit. The fruit is there, especially on the nose, which is where you really smell the fruit rather than the palate. And also, I think what happens is that this wine is showing another element of concrete, which I think is good for Pinot, in that there's plenty of volume there, but they're not big wines.
Yeah,
they're really refined and precise and very linear. The palate there is still very, very linear.
And there's one thing whilst you're on that I think is important to state, and that is that there's quite a broad range of prices of the wines today. We've got from sort of £20 up to £60 wines, and yet each estate makes a portfolio of Pinots. I know that you have one, Marion, which is less than 20 quid. And I think this is an extraordinary benefit to your region to have wines that people can get into at a good value price and then move up the ladder.
Well, yes, I think Marion punches well above its weight. I get in the trade sometimes I'm criticised with the Marion because it's structured and it's got wonderful, it's too tannic.
It's too good.
And, okay, well, just go and get another one. Don't buy Marion or don't buy my wines. All my wines historically, and that's a family thing. The wines have got to have structure, and we talk about phenolics is all about what happens with the tannins and how you handle them. We're a lot. And one of the first ones I released, the 2001 Pinot, was described by Hugh and Hook as the biggest Pinot to come out of the peninsula. And so we're not scared of tannins, and these tannins are wonderful. They're silky and they're grippy and all those sorts of things.
Listen, one question before you guys trip off. Thank you so much for all that information. Just tell me about your high density plantings again. What was the stats on that?
The high density, 10,000 wines to the hectare. Older volcanic soils, 10% iron in them. So that they'll age. Hopefully they'll age beautifully. I've only, the first one was 2016, and 2016 was the first year I introduced it to the estate. So the estate now every year has about 20%. But that vineyard, you can taste it in the grapes. The quality of the grapes are extraordinary, and hopefully we don't stuff up in the winery.
Brilliant, guys. Look, that was an awesome presentation. Would you quietly move aside and bring on the final pair?
Thanks for watching, you guys, in the background.